Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever just looked at your dog and thought, why? Why on earth do you do that? Well, today we're going to decode some of their most baffling behaviors. We're going to dive right in and uncover the ancient programming that's still running inside our modern-day best friends.
So let's start with an absolute classic. You give your dog an amazing new bone, and what do? They immediately start trying to bury it between the couch cushions. It seems totally ridiculous, right? But I promise you the reason is buried deep in their ancestral past, and we are going to dig it up.
So here's the big idea you need to get your head around. Your dog, no matter how spoiled or fluffy, is still running on the software of its wild ancestors. You can think of it like an ancient operating system that's directing all their instincts, from the way they eat to how they hide stuff, and even how they socialize. Now, there's a scientific term for this programming. It's called the ethogram. It's basically the complete inborn library of an animal's behavior. For your dog, this includes this huge functional circuit just for food. And that's not just the eating part, but carrying it, hiding it, and yep, even the whole elimination process. It's all connected. Okay, so the first big software update, if you will, came with domestication. You see, wolves are pure carnivores, but the journey to becoming man's best friend meant a massive shift in their diet. And what's so cool is you can actually see the physical evidence of that change. Dogs literally evolved to survive on our leftovers. Their stomachs actually developed more digestive glands than a wolf's, which allowed them to process a much wider variety of foods, everything from meat to grains to vegetables. They became omnivores simply out of necessity. And this just shows how incredibly efficient they became. A wolf in captivity needs to eat about 7.2% of its body weight every single day just to get by. But a domestic dog of a similar size, they only need about 3.8%. Their bodies just got way better at getting more out of a whole lot less. So, we know their digestion changed, but what about their table manners? Well, some of those eating habits that drive us completely crazy are actually perfect examples of their ancient software still running the show. Take gulping, for instance. When they inhale their food in about 3 seconds flat. From our point of view, it seems kind of rude, maybe even unhealthy. But for their ancestors, it was a critical survival skill. You had to eat as fast as you possibly could before a stronger wolf or another predator came along and stole your dinner. And here's a fun little fact that researchers have discovered. When it comes to how food tastes, male dogs are twice as picky about what they'll eat as female dogs are. So if you've got a fussy boy at home, now you know, there might just be an evolutionary reason for it. Now, on the flip side of eating is, well, uneating. Dogs have a famously sensitive stomach and they can vomit really easily. But this isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It's a protective mechanism that lets them quickly get rid of anything that might be harmful, whether that's some spoiled food, smoke they inhaled, or even just a reaction to being super scared. All right, so moving beyond just eating, our homes have basically become the stage for some truly ancient rituals. And these are really complex, pre-programmed behaviors that can look totally bizarre out of context. So remember our coach-bearing dog from the beginning? This is the exact genetic program that's running. It's this super precise, unchangeable sequence. They find a spot, they dig, they place the item, they push it in with their snout, and then, and this is the wild part, they cover it using the top of their nose, never their paws. Pretty much every member of the dog family does this, except for the African wild dog, oddly enough. Of course, in our houses, this program doesn't always run all the way through. Your dog might just do a couple of the steps, or the whole thing kind of turns into a game instead of a serious attempt to stock up a pantry. The instinct is still firing, even if the need for it is long gone. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit, because in the canine world, food and what comes after food aren't just about survival. They are a central part of the entire social network. This is a really important distinction. In a wolf pack, working together is everything, so aggression around food is heavily suppressed so that the whole pack can eat. But through domestication, those social breaks, as they're called, have weakened in dogs. And that's exactly why food aggression can be a much bigger issue for our pets than it is for their wild cousins. And the social story of food doesn't stop once the meal is over. In fact, what comes out the other end is just as important for communication as what goes in. Think of this as their version of social media. Urine marking isn't just about relieving themselves, it's like posting a status update. I was here. And it shares all sorts of info about their age, sex, and social status. The scent from their anal glands, which gets released when they poop, is a very controlled, deliberate signal of their social rank. And you know that crazy kicking they do afterward? That's to spread the scent from glands in their paws and to visually highlight their post. It's all communication.
So, let's try to bring this all together with one last really fascinating idea that helps explain those moments when your dog's behavior seems to come out of absolutely nowhere.
It's called displacement behavior. It happens when a dog is feeling conflicted, caught between two strong urges, like fear and aggression. It needs some way to relieve that internal tension. So what does it do? It performs a completely unrelated, out-of-context action. Like, all of a sudden it will start sniffing the ground intently, or maybe start frantically eating grass. It's basically a self-soothing technique. Here's a perfect example of what that looks like. A tracking dog that loses the scent trail is in conflict. It wants to please its handler, but it can't find the trail. So, to deal with that stress, it might just start fake sniffing the ground, pretending to work to avoid the handler's disappointment. It's not trying to trick anyone. It's just dealing with pressure.
So what this all really boils down to is this. When your dog gulps its food or buries a toy in the laundry or suddenly starts sniffing the carpet during a tense moment, they aren't being bad or weird just for the sake of it. They are simply running ancient, powerful software in a world that it was never designed for.
So what are the big takeaways here? Well, first, your dog's weirdest habits are really just echoes from a wild past. Second, their actions, from the food bowl to the backyard, almost always have a purpose, even if it's not obvious to us. And finally, really understanding their innate programming, their ethogram, is the true key to building a deeper, more compassionate bond with them. Because really, when we learn to see the wolf inside our dog, we stop judging the behavior and we can start to understand the animal. By learning to read their ancestral past, we can absolutely better understand our dog's present and build a much stronger future together. Thanks so much for joining me.